Hi, Pat Patten here with Ideas in Writing, and I'm here today with Dr. Emma Hitt. Emma, thank you for being with us today.
You're welcome.
And in honor of full disclosure, I need to tell our audience that I am married to Emma's father. Enough said about that.
Yes.
Mr. Wonderful. All right, great. Now, Emma, what we'd like you to do is explain your genre of writing for our audience, if you would.
Right. So I am what is known as a medical writer, and there aren't too many of us around, maybe a couple of thousand or so in the U.S. And medical writing is actually a subset of technical writing, and that, of course, is a subset of nonfiction writing. And when I say medical writing, there's actually two subsets of medical writing. There's actually FDA-related medical writing, which is regulatory information, which I don't do. And then there's medical writing that specifically focuses on writing for physician audience. And CME, it's called Continuing Medical Education. And physicians need to take that to keep their certificates current. So that's what I write.
Oh, okay. And how did you get started?
Well, I have a background in science, as you know, a Ph.D. from Emory University in molecular biology with a sort of an emphasis on cancer-related cell biology. And I discovered quite early on that I wasn't cut out for science experiments, so I figured I needed to do something with my life. And I always did have an affinity towards writing. I was told that I had a skill at it, and so I thought maybe to combine the two. And then I found out there was an organization called the National Association for Science Writers, National Association for Science Writers. So I looked into that, and eventually I evolved into medical writing.
So what was the first job you ever got as a science writer?
I actually, as a science writer, so I was still in graduate school, and the money was tight, and so I figured I'd try to get some freelance work. And one of the first jobs I got was for the American Cancer Society, writing medical news for their website, and that was actually a consumer audience.
And how did you actually start that process to work for them?
Somebody in my lab actually knew somebody else that was looking for writers, and so it was a word-of-mouth type of thing. I've also, to get started, I sent out emails to everyone that could possibly hire a science medical writer. It was a numbers game to me. I didn't take any kind of rejection personally. I sent out so many emails I don't even remember, and eventually jobs started coming my way. And then I focused on really trying to provide good writing and to be responsive, to provide good customer service and try to build that client base that way.
Would you say it's a difficult career to get into?
It helps if you have a science background. You really cannot do it without a science background. Whether you need a PhD is debatable. For some types of medical writing you do. But is it difficult? It's really all in your mind.
Is it?
Anything's as difficult as you think it's going to be. If you think it's impossible, then yeah, you're probably going to be right. That's how that works.
So what's a typical day like?
Typical day. Well, I am an early bird. I get up around 5 a.m., 5 or 6 a.m., and I start work, and I do a couple of hours before my daughter wakes up, get her off to school, and then from about 9 to 4 p.m., I focus on my work most days. And so I get it all over by 4 p.m., and then I have the evening free to myself. And my workday is very quiet. One thing I would say to anybody that hasn't been a freelance writer working at home is that you have to enjoy your own company. I make plans to have lunch with friends at least once a week, to have a little company. It gets very solitary. As you know, writing is a solitary pursuit.
Especially a freelance writer.
Yes, exactly. And some people don't realize that until they actually do it, and they yearn for an office environment. So.
Now, as far as finding, for our audience to possibly find freelance work, are there any job lists or anything that people can go to help them find work in this particular genre?
Well, of course, I have my hit list. The hit list after my last name. It's kind of morbid, but people called it that, and then I decided to name it that after. But it's a medical writing jobs list that gets sent out once a week. It's totally free. It always will be free. People have heard about the hit list, and they send me jobs, and I post them, and it goes out every Friday. And there's about 2,500 people signed up to that list right now. So it's a really good way for people to find a freelance writer, medical writer in a hurry, or staff writer too. And it's a good way to find out what kind of work is out there if you're interested in this field.
And you don't charge anything to advertisers or to the people that go to the list. In other words, it's just a really a completely free resource for people that perhaps want to learn about freelance work.
Exactly. And I would say that I did it because the organizations that are there to help freelance medical writers and science writers were actually charging employers to put out jobs, and I thought that was not a good idea. And it's actually, whatever you do to help other people, it actually does always come back to you, and it's turned out to be a great marketing tool, and as far as getting new work in for myself. So it's been great. And
because you've shared the wealth in a sense.
Exactly. And I would recommend anybody that wants to go into freelance would, try to help other freelancers too.
Yeah.
So it's all
and connect with other freelancers and say, hey, if you've got any gigs you can't handle. And that's really how you started it, isn't it? You got so much work in, you couldn't relate to it, and you thought, I'm going to put this out.
Exactly.
How often do you send your hit list out?
I send it out once a week on Fridays.
Oh, okay. So you get that much notification of jobs. I mean, how many jobs on average would be in the hit list?
It can be, so I separate it out between staff jobs and freelance jobs, but it's usually 0 to 5 freelance and 0 to 5 staff jobs.
And is it archived anywhere? Say, for example, I got a job, you sent something out about a job, and maybe I wanted to go back and see that. Is there a way that I could, maybe I knew what week you sent it out, is there a way that I could go back and check the archives?
It's actually not archived, because it involves a little extra time and
you don't
energy.
have that.
And also, part of it is that because they get the email name out there every week, and I want people to do that. And if you have a static website, then people might not go to it as much.
And what's the name of your website?
It's hitmedicalwriting.com.
And are you working on any current projects that are outside of your normal everyday science writing realm?
Well, I am compiling a book, and I'm writing a book about freelance medical writing. And one of the things I have going on right now is a writing contest, a freelance writing contest. And this is about freelancing, okay? Not about anything else, about freelancing. I'm getting a lot of entries in that aren't really about freelancing. So it's your experience as a freelancer, and it doesn't have to be medical writing. It can be science writing, any kind of writing.
Any kind, not just science or medical.
Yeah, exactly. So whether a client should win a good client of the year award or a bad client of the year award, how you got out of a rut, how you got unstuck, how you juggle multiple projects, any kind of story about freelance writing, or if you're somebody that hires freelance writers, why a freelance writer did such a good job, or it doesn't have to be negative. It can be a positive thing, but anything that will help another freelance writer when they read it, especially a new freelance writer wanting to get into the field. And so my book, I'm going to write that, and then I'm thinking about a third of the book will be contributions like that. And so that's why I'm doing the contest. And there's a $1,500 prize.
Really?
$1,500 prize to the best story. Excuse me. 500 to 3,000 words. And the deadline for that is September 15th. 2008.
Oh, okay.
Which September may be extended depending on how that goes. But it's I don't know what your chances are winning. They're very strong right now. If you write a good story, you have a strong chance of winning. But you have to be willing to have the piece in the book and sign the
So
copyright.
it's just one piece you're going to put in the book, or is it more than one
Several
piece?
Pieces. As many are good.
But there's only one actual $1,500 prize, and then are you paying the other people that you are putting? If say you chose 3 or 4 pieces, these other people that were not maybe the top, do they get paid a fee?
They don't get paid, but their piece goes in the book, and also they have the option, if they'd like, to put their full name and website.
Right.
And so it could be a promotional.
And they contain all the rights to this. In other words, they give you permission, or do you keep the rights?
I contain the rights. They have to sign that over as part of the entry
contribution.
criteria.
Okay,
exactly,
okay.
yeah.
Well, that's important to know because that's a big thing on the web now.
Exactly.
Keeping track of your copyrights and everything is really, really important. All right. Well, there you have it from one of the nation's leading experts in science writing, and I'm not just saying that as a proud mom, but it's true. And I thank you, Emma, for taking the time to share with our viewers today. And if anyone has any questions, can they contact you?
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
They can do it, go to
By
your
email.
website, Emma Emma at hitmedicalwriting.com.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.